Hello, Frank here. Time for my deep dive race review for the Jack Links 500 at Talladega. Uh, it was a good race. Sorry for the delay, but it was a good race. Probably one of the better Gen 7 cars, but obviously not the best Cup Series race of all time. Because that bar has been set so damn high from the early 2000s and maybe in the late 2010s that it's going to be hard to get the best race at Talladega because of the expectations that's been thrusted upon this racing. NASCAR's attempt to thwart the fuel saving was more effective than I thought it was going to be. I thought they would just be gridlocked three by three the entire race, or entire first stage, even before and after any pit stops. I thought they'd just be gridlocked. Ultimately, they were to a point until about 7 cars broke away. Mostly, it was a mixed bag. Mostly Toyotas leading that. Broke away from the pack, and then eventually they just went bottom feeding. They were bottom feeding, riding it out. First round of pit stops was probably the most chaotic I've ever seen for pit stops without involving a caution. After the first round of pit stops, we had a total of 9 drivers that was affected in one way or another, whether it be speeding on pit road, fueling issues, missing your pit box. We had Denny Hamlin, who was popped for speeding. Chase Briscoe, safety violation. He had a crew member of his. We had Austin Cindric, who missed his pits due to another car exiting the pit road. And you had Ryan Preece and Kyle Larson, who had fueling issues. You had Zane Smith, Riley Herbst, and Daniel Dowd and Chad Finston all popped for speeding in that same run. That pretty much separated the field. The Fords basically made out like bandits for the biggest part of after the second pit stop because they all but a few cars went to pitted twice. I really didn't think they would do. I thought they were going to fuel save and do one stop, but once they started like a couple drivers in front started going for it, that pretty much washed out one pit stop for the front end. But a lot of these drivers are hanging back too, so that's probably why they were able to make it work on one pit stop. Stage 1, it felt like it drug out. It would have been better had we not had a commercial every 5 to 6 laps. That really made it annoying. It got to the point where I was personally getting annoyed by it. Whoever's in charge of that, I would say Fox, they need to time these out better because it's getting monotonous. I mean, it's been an issue, but it's almost like they're trying to sabotage the NASCAR product because they're just commercial after commercial after commercial. But your stage 1 winner was Ryan Preece. Due to the fuel strategy, they were able to pit once. And during those second round pit stops, Riley Herbst got busted again for speeding. So he had a rough day. I think he ended up getting 3 penalties in total throughout the race: 2 for speeding, 1 for passing below the double yellow line, which I never saw on the broadcast. So if it was shown, I missed it. Then stage 2. It was going to be the first interesting race. It was very interesting. They were racing really good. They were actually racing because all intents and purposes, there was no logical reason to fuel save, which is what NASCAR was aiming for. It was all fun and games until the middle line got stacked up, and then that caused a heavy push forward, and which Bubba was apparently not ready for or whatever, causing him to go right into the wall going into turn 3, which caused the car to go down and just ended up wiping out basically most of the field. 26 was the number that they gave in that wreck. It's wild. We had 4 cautions for cause. 3 of the 4 was cars either in the big crash or was popped a tire because of that big crash. So essentially, it wasn't like a race of survival. That big, huge 26 car pileup basically did everything it needed to do with chaos. And that pretty much ruined a lot of drivers' day. Tyler Reddick was involved with it, but he managed to just survive enough and to get a top 15 finish, which helped him. He actually gained in points, believe it or not. I mean, it was kind of a given. I mean, he was still driving. Denny Hamlin was stuck a lap down all race long until the last caution. And other than Chase Elliott, everybody that was right behind him was out after that wreck. So essentially, all he had to do was finish. He didn't really need to go for the win. He didn't need to do this. All he had to do was just survive, and he would gain points. And he ended up gaining only 5 points on Denny Hamlin. After that, we had our second caution for Ty Gibbs, who was limping around. He ended up blowing a tire and nailing the wall, taking Michael McDowell with him, taking him out of the race. Our third caution for cause was Tyler Reddick when he blew a tire and smacked the wall. He hit it more flush, unlike Ty Gibbs. That was his only benefit. He hit it more flush, but any potential for him to get in the top 10 after that wiped it out. And after that, I think that's when they realized, hey, just try to get it through. Let's just try to make it through the weekend. They pushed their luck, and they still managed to finish, so that's a win, and that should be a win because they were managed to gain on their points. Then the final caution for cause, surprisingly, was when Carson Hocevar got loose. He got bumped coming out of turn 4 when the banking was dropping out. Unfortunately for Eric Jones, he was the reason why Carson was able to save it, and Eric Jones blew 2 tires and got stuck in the grass. That was the final caution for cause. And the way they were driving it, I thought they were going to have another multi-car crash. I kept on saying, I don't think this field, for entertainment's sake, can withstand another multi-car crash of 10 to 12 cars. Because the way they were stacked up, there were about 20, probably 24 cars, give or take, in that pack. And if the leaders got loose and crashed and went up and blocked the track, you're probably going to have maybe 5 cars left, because it was probably going to be about 10 to 15 car crash. And of those 10 to 15 cars would have been in, probably half or more would have been out due to severe damage, because there's more space, would have been more space in between them versus the huge one earlier. And then the rest would be limping for the most part, with a couple of survivors that would have made out minimal damage. But fortunately, that didn't happen. Then your winner of the race, coming out of Carson Hocevar is your winner of the race. First career win for Carson Hocevar in the Cup Series, completing the sweep of all 3 races this weekend, having a first-time winner in their series. So there's a little feather in their cap. That's an interesting stat for the weekend. Overall, I'll give this race a 7 out of 10. And if you were to compare it to other Gen 7 cars, I would probably give it an 8, maybe 9. The cars just don't work for these tracks. They need to change the package. Less drag. They need to cut out a lot of drag for these cars to work better. And if they cut out drag, they're probably going to have to cut down the engine some more, because less drag means more speed, which means, because there's less turbulent air slowing the car, which means more speed. They're probably going to go back over 200 miles an hour, so they're probably going to tweak the horsepower limitations some more to keep them safe. Because you can't forget, the reason that these tracks are so popular and would race the way they are is because they would literally fly into the grandstands if they turn around, because no safety measures other than slowing the engine down is going to keep those cars on the ground. Heck, just look at Bubba Wallace in that big one. His car tried everything but to lift up, but there was just enough speed scrubbed off and just enough flaps open to keep him from flipping over. Because if he would have flipped, he would have probably barreled and probably did a Tony Stewart and landed on some cars and it slid down the track. It wouldn't be spectacular. It would have been spectacular, but he would have just flipped up, landed on a couple cars, and just sat there until the cars started separating. Then he would have probably tumbled in the grass because they were in the grass at that point. But overall, it wasn't that bad of a race. We move on to Texas next week. Interested to see how that track's wearing with its unique banking in 1 and 2. Because as that track ages, it's going to get wider and the tires are going to wear. So I'm interested to see in that because that track can be hit or miss. It could be boring as can be, and it could be decent in chaos. So comment below what you thought of the race, and I'll see you all in the next video.